Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Moses Itauma, or Itauma, however you pronounce his last name. I don't want to, intentionally mispronounce it, but I think it's Itauma, right? Is he a hype job? That's the question. We're going to find out this weekend because they've been carefully selecting his opponents. So I went on a fact-finding excavation, and what I unearthed was shocking. Now make sure you leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Subscribe to the channel, become a member to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And check this out. There you go. Moses Itauma. 12 wins, 10 KOs. Looks like a pretty good record, right? 83% KOs. Turned pro in 2023. 6'4". Somebody was saying he was 6'1". I got in an argument with a guy. Anyway, they're reporting him as 6'4.5". So he's tall. 79-inch reach. Long arms. This is the problem. He's about to fight Dillian Whyte. And before I show you this, let me just tell you. I don't give Dillian Whyte a chance in hell. But you know what? The fact that so many people are calling him a hype job, I don't agree with that. But I after looking at this, I kind of understand. Check this out. Now, this is Moses Itauma, right? Let's just take a look at who he's been fighting since he's turned pro. Okay. This is when he turned pro, January 2023. He fought a guy 2-1. Next guy he fought 2-0. Next guy he fought 9-12. Next guy he fought 7-7. Next guy he fought 7-8. Next guy was 10-1. Then 5-6, 6-2, 25-3, 38-10. 22-1, 22-1, 31-3. Now, the problem with that, and then you're going to fight Dillian Whyte 31-3. When you look at those records and you understand the individuals he fought, those aren't the kind of guys you want to see somebody defeat. For you to now take that person, like in Itauma, and say, he should get Alexander Usyk next. We want to see him fight Usyk. He's going to clip the outstanding Ukrainian fighter, Mr. I Am Field. So the question for me is, is Itauma a hype job or the real deal? And I'm all about trying to deliver a balanced breakdown. But what I will say is the way he's been doing the business, I'm not so sure anyone should be out here saying he's the best heavyweight right now and putting him over Usyk. Anyone doing that, look, I'm always open for a discussion. Nothing wrong with a conversation. However, if you're saying that, I kindly request in the most respectful way, that you hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. How dare you, McNicholases and Seagulls, put Itauma above Alexander Usyk? I know he's one of the most talked about young heavyweights. He deserves to be, man. In boxing today, he's doing the business. But at 20 years old, 12-0 record, 10 KOs, look at who he's KO'd. I think he'd be in fast track towards stardom. And if they keep lining up the opponents and he keeps knocking them down, he will get there. But is he truly elite? Or is he just a product of clever matchmaking? Now, where's my thing at here? Okay. Now, some would say he's a hype job, weak opposition. Now, I went over his opponents, but there's a couple of them that jump out. Now, these guys are aging, and they're low-tier fighters. Mike Balagun, 41 years old. Marius Watt, 45 years old. Michael Bolos, 5'6", 2. There's no one on Itauma's record that he could come out here and say, because of this fight with this individual, I feel I'm ready for Usyk. He may believe in his skills. He may have all the confidence in the world in his trainer and his team. But there's no one on that resume, to me, that should give him a reinforced confidence that he's going to get in the ring with Ukraine's finest and put the bing-bings on I am field. I just don't see it. Now, there are guys out here like David Allen who've been saying, look, man, the wins like this are designed to make Itauma look dominant, which it has, but he's not been tested. No real adversity. We talk about that with Jerome Boots. He passes the eye test. Never passed a real test. Standing units was a test, but not a real test. The standing units that fought Boots, that would have been a real test, but standing units wasn't the same. So now you see, just like Boots, this guy Itauma has never really been pushed deep into a fight, or got himself really hurt in a fight and had to deal with trouble or recover. When you see fighters grow, all the greats have shown adversity, have gotten there and reality hit them real quick. And they had to either fight or flight, make adjustments, figure it out, and figure out a way to get back in front of their opponents so they can start to establish their dominance and go on and get the victory, whether TKO, KO, or decision. Itauma hasn't had that. Most of his wins are like early KOs anyway. So how much experience do you get out of that? Maybe he's that special of a fighter. That's why they were comparing him to a young Mike Tyson, because he's doing the business. To me, it just means when you see a guy getting fighters out in the first round, second round, that we haven't seen his stamina, chin, and we definitely haven't seen how they adapt, under pressure. And adaptability in boxing, especially with them heavyweights, is everything. So, in my opinion, I do think his career, although he looks good, has been more focused on opponent matchmaking than dangerous opponents that can provide merit to Itauma's career. So matchmaking over merit, at least right now. Now you think though he's about to fight Dillian Whyte. That's a pretty big deal. But for some people who see he's the real deal as well, right? That's why he's going into this fight. They take a look at his amateur pedigree. See, a lot of people don't realize this. It's the same shit Crawford got caught up with Majumov. These fighters who have that elite amateur pedigree, I get it. They don't need to have 40 fights to get in there and give some of these champions problems. But what I will tell you is Itauma won gold at the World Youth Championships. Not easy to do. And he dominated European tournaments. That's a pretty big deal. In addition, he was sparring some of the great heavyweights right now at age 15 and giving them the business. So Itauma is no spring chicken. He's been around. He may have a little Canelo in him, where he didn't turn pro at 15, but he's been doing the business for quite some time. And he was out there like David Benavidez getting that work and good sparring as a teenager. So a young teenager. So Moses Itauma is the real deal. That's why a lot of coaches say he is technically gifted even as a junior, and the footwork and IQ is very comparable to lighter, more experienced fighters. Because remember, he's a big man. But when you watch him in that ring, he's floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. As a matter of fact, not even a bee sting. He's kicking like a goddamn horse. That's how he's punching, like a horse kick, mule kick. So Itauma, to many, he's the real deal. You got to understand the physical tools he brings to the ring. For those who want to call him a hype job, okay, cool. But you can't deny his physical tools, the southpaw stance. Naturally, he has right-handed power. So I think he's a converted fighter. That's why you see the hook being devastated, but his left hand is just as devastating as the right hand. So watch for that when he fights Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is a guy who he's naturally right-handed, but he has a big, strong left hook. So everybody's saying the hook of Dillian Whyte, Itauma's, what happens if you get hit with that? How about this? That's a what if. We know Itauma's going to land his hook. So what happens when Dillian Whyte gets hit with that shit? Itauma's a massive puncher. You don't just knock people out like that who are tomato cans, just like people say Deontay Wilder. Say what you want about his record. But you don't knock people out cold because you have coochie coo in your fist. You have pillow hands. You're into to tickle people. You're into the chicken peck. You knock somebody out cold is because you have power. You have bricks in your hands. So his trainer says ever since he's been in the youth camps, he was hitting like a truck. So there's something special about him, and that could explain his calm demeanor. You know, the guy who's always barking and making noise, those aren't the ones you worry about. Well, those ones that are sitting back cool and calm, kind of in the shadows, those are the ones you got to watch out for. Because when you know what you can do and what you've been doing and sparring and against some of these professional athletes who are at the top of the sport, and you know you've been giving them the business, that's going to give you a little bit of a mental toughness and mental edge over everybody. He stays calm out of the ring, stays calm in the ring because he's been working hard. That's why he's able to adjust mid-fight. The thing is, who's going to take him into deep waters and see if they can drown him? But I just don't think Dillian Whyte's going to be the guy to do it. He has Ben Davison who's been helping him along, and I'm going to tell you, they've been studying opponents, and they do a great job, man, at fight breakdowns, exploiting patterns with precision. It's like his opponents, it's like an inescapable punishment. They can't avoid Itauma. He knows what they're going to do. That's because they're studying opponents. And again, he's got the power, but he's not just powerful. He's cerebral, like Terrence Crawford. So when you take that and you bring that together with high-level training, and again, working with a guy like Ben Davison, a respected trainer who's helped refine the technique and conditioning of Moses Itauma, I'm just telling you, you know, good things can happen because now you see where not even Davison, but other fighters and trainers are talking about Itauma's, how he's so resilient. He's a hard worker. He wants to learn. You know what I mean? You tell him to do something, he does it. He trusts the trainers, and he has the ability to learn very quickly. And not just learn, he's able to perform. I could show you something all day, but if you can't pick it up and perform, we're spinning our wheels. But Itauma is that kind of special fighter. And when you have somebody like that, you know what kind of trainer would like him? I'm not saying he'd be a good trainer for him, but Roy Jones would love him because Roy Jones likes to teach. And Chris Eubank Jr. was able to do all the things Roy Jones was showing him. But again, I'm not saying Roy Jones is the trainer for him. I'm just saying Roy Jones likes to teach. Whether you agree with the way Roy Jones trained is good or not, the bottom line is if he can show you something and you can display that, then that makes Roy Jones happy. So the bottom line, when it comes to is he a hype job or is he the real deal? Look, I just think he's a star in the making, but he's still unproven. And I don't think that's unfair to say. You know, you see a lot of fighters out here like Itauma, where they have the tools, they have the pedigree, and they have the hype, but they got to do the business. But until he faces a live, dangerous opponent, and I'm not sure if Dillian Whyte is that guy, but like a Joseph Parker, I think is a cut above Dillian Whyte right now. Adjit Caballero is a cut above him right now. Then you got one fighter that no one talks about except for really me, is Bakodir Jalalov. You know, when you got those kind of guys get in the ring with Moses Itauma, and if he can do the business to them, well, I tell you what, he's a proven contender. And then I can understand people talking about putting him in the ring with Alexander Usyk, but until then, he remains a prospect, man. You know, in 16 August, when he scraps with Dillian Whyte, to me, that's the litmus test. I know Dillian Whyte's got some life in him. I just don't know if he wins, but I think he dominates Dillian Whyte. The hype train rolls on. But if he struggles against a kind of antiquated, inactive Dillian Whyte, I just think the conversation about him being a hype job is going to get louder and louder. Start making your heads ringing like Dr. Dre. Ding, ding, dong. Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, man, does Itauma deserve a shot at Usyk knowing that he's a star in the making? Like, I don't know about all that, man. You know, that conversation keeps stirring up when it comes to these boxing critics, man. Some of the reasons are good. Rising phenom, But the rising phenom not going to be the generational talent. Something that's just special. Usyk is an alien. You know what I mean? Like, he's not normal. You got to look at the experience gap of a guy like Usyk. You know what I mean? So if you want to talk or create an argument against Itauma getting the title shot, Usyk's 24-0, man. Two-time, undisputed champion, cruiserweight and heavyweight. I mean, that's a pretty big damn deal. And it's not just him winning, it's how he's been winning, especially at heavyweight. You saw that shit with Dubois. I'm not saying, I'm going to watch what I say, because Dubois can fight. And maybe, again, when you look at Itauma, you see the talent. So I'm not going to say Itauma is better than Dubois or Dubois is better than Itauma. All I'll say is, when you see Usyk fight hard against, I'm going to say, the bigger, more powerful opponent, and just totally destroy them, humiliate them, kind of hard for me to see Itauma being able to do anything to the experienced Usyk. The first 3 rounds will be interesting because anything can happen, but if anything's happening, I think it's going to be what Usyk wants to happen, not what Itauma is trying to dictate. Again, 20 years old, 12 pro fights, nothing past 6 rounds. I don't know, man, but Tony Bellew, man, he talks about Alexander Usyk the way Tim Bradley talks about Terrence Crawford. Usyk beat the shit out of, what's his name, Tony Bellew. And Crawford was beating the shit out of Bradley. As a sparring partner, Crawford was beating the shit out of Bradley, who was a champion. So when you hear them coming out saying, "Oh, that's a dreadful fight for anyone to fight Crawford," or for Moses Itauma, that's a dreadful fight to fight Alexander Usyk, that's because he got his ass beat by Usyk. But I do agree. You should take it as a warning that fight will be happening way too soon if they put him in there. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I don't think it happens because the ball just lost to Usyk. They ain't fighting no Tyson Fury. Oh, Parker. Parker's the mandatory. But Usyk may drop the damn WBO belt. He may not even fight Parker. You got to wait and see because he didn't respond as far as, and reach out to Parker's team to try to negotiate a fight so the shit could go to purse bid. But Usyk may just drop the belts. At least that one. He may drop them all. Who knows? But if Parker and Usyk fight, Itauma for sure ain't getting it. But, again, Itauma's got to be put into a mandatory position, which we know he can because you got Frank Warren and running the show, and Turk Al-Sheikh wants to fight. So I could see Itauma getting an opportunity a lot sooner than what maybe he deserves, just because the secret society's in full EFFECT. But anyway, no need to rush Itauma, in my opinion. That's I think that'll be a disaster. It's just like how they rushed Victor Ortiz against a guy like Maidana. How they rushed what's his name? Bajado, Francisco Bajado, Panchito Bajado. Back in the day, y'all probably know who he is. They rushed David Reed, the Philly fighter, gold medalist, put him in hard fights. His career fizzled out really, really fast. Fernando Vargas was a badass, but they put him in real difficult fights. He won a lot of them, but he got the fight beat out of him real early in his career. So don't need to do it. But you can always argue that, maybe he should get a title shot. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the rankings, that record, 12 wins, 10 by knockout, no losses. He's currently ranked number 1 by the WBO. So that just lets you know everything that you need, that this is the aggressive push that we want for Itauma. And to be honest with you, the way he's moving, as long as he has the secret society and the money machine behind him, he will continue to get opportunity after opportunity. So you would think Moses Itauma can keep moving up the ladder in perpetuity. Only way I see it stopping is if he somehow burns a bridge out there with, Frank Warren and Turk Al-Sheikh. But other than that, he's just right behind the interim champion, Joseph Parker. So He's right there. And check this out. If Usyk drops that WBO belt, or if he gets stripped, now you got Itauma fighting Parker for the vacant title. So if you look at it, I really have a feeling Usyk may drop that WBO belt, because you got to look at what Turki Al-Sheikh wants. They keep talking about Itauma. I think Usyk, same way they stripped him of that IBF, gave it to Dubois. Dubois became a champion. Usyk fought him, became a two-time undisputed heavyweight. Now, Usyk may not want to fight Parker. A lot of people think Parker beat Usyk. But maybe Usyk drops the WBO. Now, Parker and Itauma fight for it. Itauma, if he beats Parker, then Itauma becomes a champion. And then now Usyk fights Itauma again for undisputed. The fight that Turki Al-Sheikh wants. So Parker gets an opportunity. They don't quite jerk him, but he gets an opportunity. But he has to go through again another test. And look, they're kind of doing Parker a little bit wrong. But he got to get through a young bull. Somebody Parker would normally never fight. Why would he move down the ladder? He's supposed to move up the ladder. Not mess with them young, hungry lions. Been there, done that. But he won't get his opportunity at undisputed. And I think Tyson Fury has everything to do with whether that happens or not. If he comes back to fighting. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. I talked about it before. I just think, just pay attention to that shit. If Usyk drops the WBO belt, Parker and Itauma fight for it. If Itauma beats Parker, Itauma will fight Usyk. Unless Usyk retires, but I think they will fight. Because the money Usyk's going to make, he'll take the fight with Parker. And when you're getting paid $150 million to scrap, I mean, I tell you, I would get butt naked and swim across the river of man-eating crocodiles. And I'm going to get to the other side because I want that money. That's basically what, they're making Parker do. The power resides with the promoter, Turki Al-Sheikh. When Turkey's in the house, every day's Thanksgiving. Turkey is not just a major force in Saudi Arabia. He's just a major force in boxing, globally. And he keeps saying, like, I'm not making this shit up, that he wants to see Itauma face Usyk. So his influence has proven to override traditional matchmaking, and he will put on marquee fights. You saw what happened there with Usyk and Crawford. That's not the traditional way. Crawford didn't earn his way into any mandatory positions. So don't think that Turkey can't make this shit happen. He does what he wants. But if somehow they fumbled around and now Itauma and Usyk scrap, now you got a unique style matchup. Very unique. Even, what's his name, George Groves, he fought Carl Froch. He came out and he was saying, man, Itauma's speed, the southpaw stance, the aggression could trouble Usyk more than Parker or Dubois. And I'll be honest with you, I think so. I don't think he's going to be cautious. I think he's going to come out there, looking for glory. I think the other ones will be more cautious and could probably let some rounds get away from him. You can't wait on Usyk. See, people think Usyk is a defensive, reactive type fighter. No, Usyk is aggressive as hell. He can fight both ways. He switches on when to be defensive, when to be offensive, when to be an aggressor, when to be a counterpuncher, when to be a boxer puncher, when to be a free swinger. When to take it to the stupid. Usyk, you just don't know what you're going to get with him. But again, it goes back to what I said. Itauma sparred Fury, Joshua, a whole lot of other guys out there in the UK when he was a young guy. And he was given a lot of respect for not just his composure, but for that power. So does he deserve it? Not yet. Based on merit and resume, Parker should be next. That's just the way I think most of us see it. Could he get it? Absolutely. When Turkey's in the house, every day's Thanksgiving. If Itauma dominates Dillian Whyte on August 16th and Usyk opts for a high-profile fight, youth versus the legend clash, because that's what it would boil down to, man. And Turkey, she wants that shit could happen. I don't know. They say all money's not good money, so, should he take it? I think his team is going to push for him to take that fight if it presents itself. They believe he's ready to leap several levels because that's what it would be. What it would be basically, levels of competition. But if Usyk drops the WBO belt, I think fighting Parker would be a smarter path. But either way it goes, Moses Itauma is heading the right way. He has all the right people behind him. He has everything, all the resources he needs, man, to get him to where they want him to go and where he wants to go. And that's to the top of the heavyweight division and possibly become undisputed in his first shot at a title, a real title. But I just have a feeling Usyk going to drop that WBO belt and force Itauma and Parker to fight. And they're going to screw Parker because he'll probably lose to Itauma. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I like Itauma. He gets busy. I say the first 2 rounds he knocks out Dillian Whyte. First 2 rounds, he knocks Dillian Whyte out cold. Simple. Dillian Whyte's too inactive. Still got power, but he's not the guy that he was before. He's just not that guy. He'll still fight you. He's not afraid. But once he gets hit with that left hand, Dillian Whyte, his legs are going to go. You know how he start dancing salsa in the ring and shit when he get hit, his equilibrium goes off? Dillian Whyte going to start dancing salsa in the ring. He ain't going to be no Jamaican out there signaling the plane and rowing the boat and all that shit. He going to be dancing salsa. He going to get his suavemente on when Itauma hits him with the bing bings. Anyway, Hypejob, real deal. I think he's a star in the making. And this weekend could be his breakout fight. And the next fight could be for a real title. Just got to wait and see. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. If you enjoy my content, y'all should be members to the channel. You know, I don't know what else to tell you. And you should be leaving that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Anyway, check this out. Apologize for the interruption, but hey, if you enjoy the channel, you enjoy the content, why don't you go take time and head over to my homepage, click on the link store so you can purchase some of the latest Hood Champion boxing merch. Got hats, shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, stuff for the kids. Got different designs. So again, I'd appreciate it if you took some time to head over to the store. Again, just click on the store tab on my homepage and go out there and find something you like. Got something for everybody. And again, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. And y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.